before we introduce my guest today, we will definitely talk about the fact that Nigerian rapper and singer, this is hard to talk about, Mohbad, he was confirmed dead yesterday, and furthermore, his management has put out a statement about his passing. He was 27. Now, the entertainment industry fans as well were thrown into a state of mourning after reports confirmed his death. We know that he was formerly signed to Naira Marley's Marleyan Records and left the label in 2022. Now, there's so many beautiful songs that I didn't even know all were from Mohbad. You know, like I played Peace earlier, one of my favorite songs ever. There's also Pomo, there's Feel Good, and there's a song that I murder every time I try to sing, and the world loves to correct me in that, Kopoke, you know, KPK. That's a song he did with Rexy. He was nominated 3 times for the Headies Awards in 2022. On social media, one of his very close friends and family, Dabi Adenuga, recently released a short tribute as to where Mohbad's state of mind was at before he died. There's so many videos trending online about what he felt, what he was doing in the past, but this video is one that reflects who Mohbad was as at the time of his passing, and not a lot of what we've seen on social media.
And I hope you feel blessed.
Well, joining us on Artiste 360 right now, I love to call him the person who started all of this before we even started talking about it, from the record labels to the music to the excitement around Afrobeat. You know, ID Cabasa joins me live in our Lagos studio. ID Cabasa, it's so lovely to have you on Artiste 360. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. And I wanted to talk about Mohbad just before I had you on, because it will be, I know you have a few things to say. This is a story that shocked everyone in the industry, and I just want to know what your thoughts are, especially because on social media, on Twitter, there are so many conversations going on. The disrespect to Mohbad himself during his funeral rites, talks about his ex-label. You know, there's so much tension, and you have experienced tension. I know for a fact that you must have. You've had your time where people said, hey, Adi Cabasa and this person are fighting, this person is threatening this person. So looking at everything in its entirety, what do you have to say about the time that we are in right now?
Okay, first and foremost, thanks for having me. It was a rude shock when I heard about his death yesterday, and for me, it calls for more reflection, not just from the fans, even from the creative industry itself, where we might need to actually, because if you see most of the conversation going on, you will know Mohbad has been going through a whole lot of late when it comes to the issue of his record label, even some of the other mental health issues that people have been bringing out. So I think, like I said yesterday when they told me, and I had to write this on my WhatsApp status, that people should look out for people, not just for what they want to get from them or just their fame. They should actually genuinely look out for them in terms of their mind, their current state of mind. And unfortunately, we lost a very talented, not ordinary. This guy is one of the very few, which I think, in my personal opinion, has that sound that is actually going to hold Afrobeat locked down for a very long time. We were meant to work on a particular project I was working on. Only for me, the manager called me and told me that it was late. But all I can say is, I think all of us need to pay attention, not just to our physical health, but also to our mental health. And we should seek help and be vulnerable to get help when we think there are issues around us and all of that.
That's absolutely.
May God rest his soul.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. Now, one of the topics that I really wanted us to touch on today is record label conflict, and this is a subject that you've spoken about time and time again. Not to say it has anything to do with what happened to Mohbad, but it is one conversation that has come up again in the wake of his death. Conflict resolution within record labels. We've seen so many different artists, from Kiz Daniel to Peruzzi, you know, every single time, even Tenny at some point in time, just different people coming up to talk about issues they're having with their management. And it's so sad when you think about it. How can we better manage these issues? Because I think it goes beyond contracts. We always say, okay, sign your contracts well. draft your contract, get a lawyer, but ID Cabasa, there must be more to it because it seems like it's deeper than just the contract.
So, well, I won't say it's deeper than more than the contract. Most cases, people don't get to know what they are getting into, especially when you come to the table with your survival mode. A lot of artists, a lot of creatives, even the record labels, a lot get into they get on the table just for their survival modes. I've been there before that I asked an artist what he wanted when we were going to sign him. And he told me he wanted a car, he wanted me to get him a 3-bedroom apartment somewhere. He wanted this, he wanted that. And in my head, they were actually two. The second person is famous today, very, very big today. I asked him what he wanted, and he said he just wanted to be heard. So most times we come to the table with expectations, and most of the time those expectations are not, when they are not met, then it brings about disappointment, not just from the part of only the artist, even from the record label. So at the end of the day, what I normally advise is, before you as an artist go to a record label, make sure that you have built some level of value for yourself that you can put on the table that will give you more power to actually negotiate. As a record label owner, your job is not just to have money. Your job is supposed to have a structure and system that can work in the industry. A whole lot of people, especially with the new wave in terms of, so much is happening in the entertainment industry, especially the music industry. People come in, they say they have money. You can be an investor, but get a system and structure that works. Get people to run that for you. When the system and structures are working very well, and the artist who is coming to the table with probably some value, not that you are just coming to the table desperate for your next meal or any of that, you are going to negotiate for something better. You will know that beyond your music, you are also putting your brand, you are putting your life forward. And the label too, we understand that, okay, all that we are bringing is the structure, the system, and the money. So at the end of the day, everybody puts value on what they are putting on the table, and they sign contract. I say this with all sense of seriousness, that you sign contracts like sworn enemies, but work as best of friends. When you sign contract as worst enemies, you are looking at all the technicalities. And artists know this. Don't try to read your contract to understand it yourself. Get a lawyer. The industry is not run by creatives. It is run majorly by lawyers than investors. So get a good lawyer that can help you interpret your contract so that you will not, at the end of the day, you'll be signing a death warrant or something like that. And like I said earlier, and most importantly, don't come to the table with desperation for your next meal. That all you just want is somebody to call a big figure. Look at the long game. Don't play just to blow. Play to blow, then to keep playing. Look at the long game and make sure for every contract you are signing for the long game. I think that should actually help us with this.
Absolutely. Now, you've done so well with music. I mean, I feel like one of these days, by ID Cabasa, I need a whole hour with you, but I'm going to try to just keep it short and simple. Legacies, it's so important. How do I put this? With Coded Tunes, you had artists who now have artists under them. I don't know if you get what I mean. So legacies, it's so important to leave a legacy as a creative, but in music sense, as a record label owner, as a father, as a friend. How important is this? And based on what we see today, the hype, comments, reactions, things people say on stage when they're collecting their awards, would you say that we're doing a good job at creating legacies for future artists to live by, to learn from?
Well, I would say the way things are now in Nigeria, in the music industry, I think people are now becoming more conscious of legacy. The syndrome of let me just blow, and that is it, is slowly winding down. And people are now paying attention to truth. They are paying attention to what people will say beyond their music, the way people see them beyond their music. And like I said earlier when I was talking about contracts, when you play the finite game, which is, just to be successful, you'll be playing a game that is time-bound, which is to say it will expire at some point. But when you come to the table to play a more infinite game, which is a longer game, where you are not really about you succeeding, not that you won't succeed, but success will become a sort of experience for you. It's not going to be the goal. You'll be playing a longer game of building legacy that should be there long after you have died. Fela has died over 20 years ago, and we're still talking about him. We're still recycling some of his works. So I think there is a lot of consciousness now in the industry. I have spoken to a lot of young people, and I have started noticing that the conversation is changing from, okay, I just want to blow. I want to be the next big thing, to I want to actually leave something down that the next generation, even long after they are gone, can still live with. We need to focus more to know that success can actually be a distraction on its own. If you understand how success works, so after I've succeeded, what next? So there is more to life. There is a journey to life, which is, I will call it the journey of greatness, where you keep playing. And to keep playing does not mean that you keep doing the same thing. You will know when it is your time to actually allow the younger ones to take over what you are doing, for you now to now get to a point where we call on the street, Baba in the game, where you are now like an overseer over some people, and you keep evolving like that. And before you know what we're talking about, there are stories, there are legends about you that will outlive you. And I think that consciousness is coming in now. Yeah.
So Marble, coming from somebody who definitely understands what that feels like. What did you say? Baba on the streets, right? Heidi Cabassa, thank you so much for joining me on Artiste 360 today. Words on Marble. I couldn't have picked a better time to have Heidi Cabassa on the show.